Good afternoon, card fighters, and welcome back to the Prime Vanguard channel. In today's video, I'll be discussing what I believe Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom needs to become competitive. As always, if you enjoy seeing content such as this, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and do not forget that notification bell so you're always up to date on my newest videos coming out. Now, Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom, ever since its introduction in Set 8 Minerva Rising, has been one of my favorite Stoicheia decks to play on the side. It really does embody that old Aquaforce feeling of using poking multi-attacks to mess with your opponent, as well as gain powerful effects depending on the number of attacks you make, rewarding you for maximizing the deck's full capabilities. Maelstrom in the standard format spares no expense with this, with the reintroduction of the Ride line with cards like Theo, Algos, Tidal Assault, as well as other key Tier Dragon and Aquaforce themed support cards. Maelstrom has been doing pretty good as a fun deck to play on a local level. But if we want to take this deck to the next level, we need to discuss three key things that are holding it back from being a top tier deck. 1. Power. This has always been an issue in Aquaforce up until the G era days, but in standard format with the introduction of Set 13 and the new wave of promo support cards, power is going to be huge for multi-attack decks such as Maelstrom. Maelstrom at this moment can do about 5 to 6 attacks, and depending on what your overtrigger is and certain cards you play, you can push the deck up to 7 to 9 attacks, under the best of circumstances. Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom's first ability is also locked out when your opponent's Vanguard is not grade 3. Without that additional ability and not additional power outside of triggers and effects, Maelstrom is going to have a very hard time keeping up with the power numbers or threshold that these other decks can produce. In order to assist Maelstrom, we're going to need a unit that gives power to other units or to itself, but without disrupting our key strategy. Our key strategy in Maelstrom is to reach enough attacks to meet the threshold of certain card effects that will benefit us throughout the attack patterns of our turn. Maelstrom's fourth battle effect lets us retire a card, draw a card, and then we have cards such as Algos that get additional 5,000 power and draw on hit, and we also have cards such as Gatling Wave Dragon that get additional 10,000 power and let you draw a card if you're above the attack of 4 or 5 or more. Having a unit that can apply power to those cards that have those effects, but also not disrupt our strategy, would be fantastic for Maelstrom. As a key factor of this deck is that you're reliant on your Aquaforce and Tier Dragon pieces already, such as the Judgment Order, Tideline Dragon, to apply power to these other units under the best of circumstances, making this deck extremely reliant on Persona Ride and not having a way to increase your power outside of that. Maelstrom essentially plays like a glass cannon if it doesn't have all of these things or its pieces in the right place. Therefore, if we want to improve our battle formation, we're going to need cards that have abilities to gain power or give power without messing up our attack patterns and affecting the placement of our key units. And speaking of key units, that leads me to our second point. Number 2, board formation. Now, Aquaforce's playstyle has always been practically the same throughout the years. You're reliant on certain pieces being in certain places to restand and swap during the battle phase to gain certain effects to reach that attack threshold. This is Aquaforce bread and butter. It's the basis of the clan and how it's always played prior to being reintroduced into the standard format. Unfortunately, however, in the standard format, our version of Maelstrom is reliant on you having Aquaforce units or Tier Dragon pieces to work in this deck. If you want them to be the target of your set order, Judgment Maelstrom to be revived, they have to be an Aquaforce or Tier Dragon unit. And in order to make our best pieces work, we're going to have to maximize on the best cards that meet those thresholds so that they are always revivable off of our set orders and other card effects. Unfortunately, right now, we don't have any good units that can help us do that without the need of the set order or Maelstrom's ability under certain conditions. A revival unit like something that Flagberg got would be fantastic for this deck. If that card was a Tier Dragon unit that had the ability to bring back another unit, that would be great for Maelstrom. Maelstrom would then have more access to Superior Calling to make up for the missing board if you're playing against a heavy control matchup. Decks such as Vermilion, Gandiva, and Bob Sagra, or basically any deck that can retire 2 or more units, really does hurt Maelstrom. It's extremely reliant on you hitting the set order to get your bodies back on board, as well as using Maelstrom's ability to get other units from the soul onto the board to hit your attack pattern threshold. Because if you can't do that, it hurts your strategy and it's not good for Maelstrom in those circumstances. Now that we've discussed power as well as the board formation awkwardness for Maelstrom, the final thing that this deck needs to become a top tier deck is the same thing I bring up in all of my videos. Number 3, a clear finisher. Base Maelstrom as of now is playing with the swing at your opponent multiple times and hoping that the 5th or 6th attack will get the game done. This is perfectly fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that strategy. If you're playing your cards correctly and you're hitting triggers and you're making sure that your attack formations are correct and you're hitting all of your attack patterns properly, then this isn't bad. But Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom throughout the years has had multiple evolutions of different forms that have introduced guard restrict abilities into Aqua Force to make it better and make up for this key weakness. 2 of Maelstrom's most notable forms is Glory Maelstrom and his Stride variation of Maelstrom. Both of these versions of Maelstrom introduced a battle door effect after you reach the 4th attack. And like our grade 3 Vanguard Maelstrom now, you have to reach the 4th attack anyway to get its full effects. Therefore, I don't see anything wrong with introducing the ability to get a guard restrict onto a new Maelstrom. If we got a Glory Maelstrom that applied power to the front row continuously and kept this guard restrict effect, at least for its own attack, as this is standard format and defense is already weird, this would be a huge upgrade to Maelstrom. And we already know that in standard format with encounter decks, they're not scared to introduce the evolution forms of their predecessors to take these decks to the next level. Decks like Phantom Blaster Overlord and Dragonic Overlord The End are great example of evolution decks that got taken to the next level in just one solid form. I believe that if we want Maelstrom to hit the standard and become top tier, we're going to need our own evolution form from the past, like Glory Maelstrom, to take this deck to the next level. On top of introducing units that can revive key unit pieces or be targetable unit pieces for revival from our set order and other card effects, that would also help. And if those units were able to give power to themselves or power to other units and improve our resource management, that would also be a blessing for this deck as well. Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom is still currently one of my favorite decks in the Stoicheia format. I think that as we go further on into the next season, hopefully we'll see more generic support for this deck or more promo support to make it better. I don't think that Maelstrom is a horrible deck right now. You definitely can take it to a locals and have a good time. But if you want to take this deck really to the top tier, everything I stated in today's video is going to be needed to make this wave crash land. Thank you so much for staying tuned throughout the entirety of this video, card fighters. Once again, if you enjoy seeing content like that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And with that being stated, I am your host, Prime Vanguard, and I will catch you later. Peace.